A follow-up to the 2013 original, Rogue Legacy 2 is everything that an iterative sequel should be. It's bigger, more finely tuned, smarter, deeper, and simply better in every way. It takes the original and sands away all the rough edges, using its nearly 2 years in early access to hone in on what fans of the series want with laser precision. Through a mix of excellent controls, tons of variety for your playable characters, more interesting and varied enemy types, and hugely beneficial quality of life changes, it helps this game become one of my favorites in what has already been a year filled with great titles. This game is everything I ever wanted in a run-based action platformer, and please allow me to explain why in the XboxEra review of Rogue Legacy 2. The game follows the same path as the first title. You control a familial line that is attempting to clear out a number of bosses, 6 this time, to reach the endgame. Every time you die, a new set of 3 heirs is presented with a randomly chosen set of class types that have their own unique abilities, spells, and traits. For class types, there are 13 on hand, which you unlock as you progress through the main metagame, which I'll explain in a little bit. 15 different spell types are available, and there are over 50 traits. This system is the heart and soul of the game. Things start out fairly simple class-wise, but in no time you'll unlock a vastly different playing one, such as the Gunslinger or the Ronin. Spells might be the least interesting of the 3, but they can still be incredibly powerful when matched up with certain builds. Finally, the traits can come in either 0, 1, or 2 at a time, and they will influence how a character's run will go a lot. For instance, negative traits are the main way to gain bonus gold gain per run, and you'll have to balance the do I want to have the entire game be black and white to make a little more cash, or every time you kill an enemy they drop an explosive flask but you get more gold on each run. It's a tried and true repeated system from the first game, but much like the rest, it is bigger and better in its implementation. Gone are most of the least fun to play with traits from the first title, and in their place are things that are negatives but I felt a bit more in control of. The only one I truly hate is Pacifist, which replaces your weapon with a peace sign and you cannot deal damage in any form. It pretty much forces you into a run-through bashing crates and looking for chests playstyle that wasn't very fun or interesting to me, but it does offer up an enormous amount of extra gold per drop. There's so much more here, but it is really best experienced firsthand if you're interested in the game. The sense of discovery is awesome, and growth comes quickly through the overall metagame that is outside of each run. This of course comes in the form of gaining gold and other various currencies to upgrade your town, along with buying various types of gear to empower your heirs. I think it's safe to say that my favorite part of this genre is that power creep. Slowly but surely, your runs become easier in multiple ways as you gain more and more stats at your profile level. And Rogue Legacy 2 has my favorite version of this with an expanded upon town feature where you can build up a castle by spending gold earned in each previous run. This is how you unlock almost every part of the game, though some upgrades are tied to other methods of unlocking, which again is best found out on your own. Basic upgrades though, like health, armor, and damage come in various forms, but your town's residents and all of the extra character classes are unlocked through this system as well. Every run just always feels like you are growing more powerful thanks to this system. Even if I died before getting enough gold to unlock something, there is a per-class experience system that unlocks bonuses while using them. Found a castle layout that you like and want to keep? You can activate the engineer you unlocked and run that same layout for as long as you're willing to earn a little less gold per run. There are teleporters that dot the map, and are part of another huge quality of life upgrade that you'll find immensely satisfying once you unlock it. I never felt that same frustration with having to do so many of the same runs as I did with the first title. Also, the map and tile variety is enormous, but they cleverly keep you from having to go on incredibly long runs when you want to push progression in the story. By the same token, when I wanted to grind out more gold to keep upgrading myself for a tough boss fight, I was able to fly through previously difficult areas because of just how much I had powered up at my profile level. Many games in the genre mostly focus on the leveling up in your mind by getting better at the game approach, and that is on display here as well. The difference that makes me love this one so much is that it's matched by a never-ending, carrot-on-a-stick numbers going up system as well. One example, at the start of each run, any remaining gold you have, you give to Karun, the boatman, as he brings you to the castle in which you start. Eventually, though, you get an upgrade so that even this simple act continuously adds to your character's stats. There are so many basic systems that I never felt like I was wasting my time, and thankfully, the gameplay matches all of these brilliant ideas. It will feel instantly familiar to anyone that played the first game. A is your jump, X is your main weapon, Y is your class ability, and B is your spell. By default, the left and right triggers are your dashes in whichever direction you're currently moving, though you can swap this to the classic option so that left trigger dashes left and right trigger dashes right. Left bumper is the brilliant kickflip ability. Any in-game breakable item or enemy can be bounced off of with this, and it can also be used by holding down and pressing the jump button. It adds a ton to the movement and is useful in avoiding damage. Right bumper is your interact button, and the D-pad is the same movement as your left stick. This game is 100% built for a controller, and I would not recommend trying to play this on a mouse and keyboard if you're on PC. It feels incredibly tight, but you need to hit so many buttons at the same time that it felt nearly impossible to play well this way. For the review, I did start on PC and then switch to Series X once that code was ready, and I used a controller the entire time. Performance on PC was excellent, as you would hope, with the graphics on hand. The game looks great, but let's be real here, it's not pushing hardware that tough, and could most likely be played on any decent gaming rig from the past 15 years. I was disappointed though that the Series X didn't seem to support anything more than 60 frames per second, and as I was routinely getting between 200 and 500 frames per second on my PC, it just felt better on there. One of the biggest issues I had with the original is that I really despised some of the enemy types, and I'm looking at you, paintings. There are some dastardly foes on here as well, but I felt like the options for taking them on, especially as you progress through the upgrade path, worked better in keeping down my frustration whenever I died. I knew that it was my fault each time, and it's a game you want to play quickly because it feels so damn good, but you will be punished if you run into everything like a bull in a china shop. Certain class types, like the mage, are just far squishier than, say, a dragon lancer, but they have incredibly high damage potential with their constant mana regen for spell use. And eventually, you will unlock the ability to re-roll your air choices at the beginning of a run as well. As I just said, this is a good-looking game. It's just not demanding at all on the hardware, but that art direction is excellent and everything is clean. I never felt like my character or the environment was obfuscated in a way that was detrimental to the gameplay. Some of the traits that add on extra gold gain do this on purpose though, such as the Diva one, which puts a huge spotlight on your character, but only little tiny spotlights on enemies, and then blacks out everything else. Gone is the original game's pixel graphic aesthetic as well. In its place is a still 2D focused, but now fully modeled look that I think is a big improvement. It reminds me a lot style-wise of the Cyanide and Happiness webcomics, and there is a sense of humor that permeates everything. The music of Rogue Legacy 1 was some of my favorite of last gen, and the sequel soundtrack has been every bit as catchy. This is a very good thing, as you will be spending a lot of time in the same areas, listening to that same music over and over again as you work your way to each boss. All of it has been great, with the main castle theme being my favorite so far. There is no voice acting, but what sound effects are here are fine. The tings of hits on metal and crunches of being hit make it clear what's going on, and the enemy noises help you know who is in the room with you before you even see them. This story is a lot bigger this time, with a large number of journal entries for each area that delve into the mystery and intrigue that have engulfed the castle and its surrounding lands in death and misery. Over far too many hours, I ran into no bugs on either PC or console, and as stated previously, performance was stellar. The time in early access seems to have been well spent, as the amount of content on hand is enormous. Perhaps too enormous for those looking for a quick run-through and multiple new game pluses, like with the first game, but for me personally, it was a huge bonus. I want to play this game for a very long time, and between the main story, the side challenge content, and the new game plus potential, this title is freaking massive. In conclusion, Rogue Legacy 2 is excellent in every conceivable metric. The gameplay is fast, tight and feels fair. It's simplistic but beautiful graphically. The music is excellent, and the story is intriguing but not in the way. At $25 US, this is something every fan of the genre, either new or old, should give a try. It takes every positive from the solid first game and improves upon it while sanding away many of its rough edges. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help our channel grow. You can visit us at patreon.com/XboxEra if you really want to help. And we'll see you next time.